Okay, let's jump right in. We're talking about something I think, well, pretty much everyone feels these days, this idea of the age of options.
Right.
Sounds great, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
Endless choices. But have you ever felt less empowered and more just overwhelmed by it all?
Oh, definitely. That feeling is so common. Scrolling and scrolling, feeling like you should be doing something else or getting something else.
Exactly. And that feeling often clashes with, well, who we actually are.
Mm-hmm. And that's where our source material for today comes in. It's called I Wasted Time Trying to Be Extroverted.
Yeah, it really gets into this common belief that you have to be outgoing, really extroverted to get ahead.
It does. And it traces the author's own journey, realizing that pushing themselves to be extroverted wasn't working and how they found strength in their more introverted nature.
Which brings up a big question, I think, for you listening. Have you ever felt that pressure? Like you needed to perform, put on a different persona maybe to succeed?
In your job, maybe. Or just
Yeah,
like
sure.
socially.
Anywhere, really. Anywhere it felt like the game was rigged for the loudest person in the room. So that's what we're digging into today, this myth of endless choice and why knowing yourself is, well, maybe more important than ever.
Let's start with that big myth the author tackles head on. This idea that extroversion equals success, respect, recognition, climbing the ladder. It's all tied up with being outgoing.
Right. It really is. The stereotype is so strong. The charismatic leader, the person working the room.
Yeah, and society often rewards that, or at least seems to. You see it reflected sometimes in, like, leadership studies, though they often miss the quiet strengths.
Totally. And I'll admit, I bought into it myself sometimes, that feeling of, oh no, I need to network more, be more visible, or I'll get left behind.
We all feel that pressure.
But the author's point is so good, trying to force that extroverted ideal just felt fake, inauthentic, and it actually pulled them away from who they really were.
Mm-hmm. And I bet a lot of you listening can relate to that feeling, trying to squeeze into a mold that just doesn't fit right. It's exhausting.
It really is.
And this whole thing gets amplified by what the author calls the age of options, this sheer volume of choices we face every single day.
Yeah, it's not just choices, it's distractions,
Yeah.
right? This constant feeling you need to have more, be more, do more, show up more.
Exactly. Like there's always another app, another notification, another opportunity you should be chasing. It reminds me a bit of that concept, the paradox of choice.
Where too many options make it harder to choose or make you less satisfied with your choice.
Precisely. It can lead to anxiety, this feeling of never quite landing on the right thing because there are just so many other things shimmering out there.
It's like information overload, but for life choices. The author uses that great image. Think about Leonardo da Vinci.
Mm.
Imagine if he had infinite scroll, constant pings, pressure to react to every art trend online. Would we even have the Mona Lisa?
Right.
It just hammers home the need for focus.
That's such a striking comparison.
Yeah.
Because that constant barrage of input, it really does chip away at the quiet space we need.
Yeah.
For deep thinking, for creativity, for just figuring things out clearly.
Yeah, you end up busy. Sure, your calendar's full, but are you actually present? Are you making choices that, really mean something to you?
Busy versus fulfilled, they're definitely not the same thing.
And that leads right into another huge point. The gap between society's definition of success and, well, actual personal happiness. The author talks about their old advertising dreams.
Right. Chasing the promotions, the public applause, that kind of external validation.
Yeah, that seemed like the peak, the goal.
But the key insight was realizing those weren't really their dreams. They called it just an echo of all the voices around me.
Wow, that hits hard.
It does. And it really underlines why taking time to reflect is so critical. We have to ask ourselves, where did this goal come from? Is it really mine?
Or is it something I picked up from, I don't know, my parents, society, Instagram, maybe even who I used to be but aren't anymore?
Exactly. It's so easy to chase the external stuff, the likes, the job title, being the one who's seen the most.
Right.
But the author argues, pretty convincingly, I think, that the real win is that internal feeling, being true to yourself, living in a way that feels right deep down.
So a question for you listening. What are you chasing right now? And does it genuinely line up with who you are or who you want to be? It's worth thinking about.
Which brings us to maybe the most powerful tool the author suggests. Just asking why.
Simple, but not easy.
Not at all. Before grabbing the next shiny object, before striving for more, just pause. Why do I actually want this? Is this coming from me, or is it some external thing pushing me?
Because the digital world, I mean, it connects us in amazing ways, but it can also put static between us and our own thoughts, right?
Totally. We're just swimming in shoulds. You should want this career. You should go to this event. You should feel this way. It comes from everywhere.
Yeah, the also contrasts, like the busy extrovert packing their weekend versus the introvert forcing themselves through social tips.
Mm-hmm. Different actions, but the core question is the same for both. Are you doing this for you or for some idea of who you're supposed to be?
And nailing down that why really comes down to self-knowledge, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That's the foundation. And according to the author, you can't really get that self-knowledge without silence.
Ooh, silence. Kind of a scary word these days.
It can be, but
Yeah.
it's essential. Carving out moments to actually hear yourself think without the constant noise from outside.
So what does that look like? Not necessarily meditating for hours, right?
No, not at all. It can be super simple, like putting your phone away for a bit each day, taking a walk without music or podcasts. Sorry, deep dives.
Point taken.
Or it's just, it's sitting quietly for a few minutes,
Hmm.
creating these little pockets of stillness so your own voice can actually surface. For you listening, that clarity could be, well, pretty transformative.
Yeah, I can see that. And this leads to reframing how we think about personality, especially introversion. It's not a bug, it's a feature.
Exactly. The author nods to ideas like the power of the quiet ones, celebrating that different ways of being in the world are equally valid, equally strong.
And also mentions essentialism, Greg McCune's stuff. The idea that most things don't matter.
Which sounds harsh maybe, but it's actually really freeing. If you accept that, you can stop trying to do everything.
Right, and focus your energy on what actually truly nourishes you, what aligns with your core self.
Mm.
And this is such a crucial message, I think, especially if you are more introverted and you felt that constant nagging pressure to be louder, be more social, push yourself into situations that just leave you feeling totally drained.
Yeah, the author basically says directly, there is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken.
That's powerful. Because society often does seem set up to reward just one type of personality.
It often does. So embracing your quietness, accepting yourself as you are, that's a quiet rebellion, in a way.
I like that, a quiet rebellion.
And ultimately, the author lands on this really strong idea. Knowing yourself gives you clarity. And in this age of options, clarity is power.
It helps you cut through the noise.
Exactly. Gives you an internal compass to navigate all those choices and pressures, letting you pick what's genuinely right for you.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. The big takeaway from this deep dive really seems to be about getting clear on your own definition of success.
Yeah, and understanding who you authentically are, separate from all the external noise telling you who you should be. Resisting that pull of endless options just for the sake of options.
It's about seeing the value in reflection in that quiet space, letting your own thoughts actually guide you.
Definitely. So maybe the final thought to leave you with.
Go for it.
What could you really achieve? What could open up for you if you stopped trying so hard to fit a mold that isn't yours? If you fully leaned into who you actually are?
That's a big one. Maybe just think about one small thing, one tiny step you could take this week toward that kind of self-acceptance, towards finding that inner clarity.
Yeah, just one small step. That's often where it starts.